Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having Greek yogurt, natural peanut butter, frozen blueberries. Sometimes people ask things like, why do you always use frozen fruit for that? Because it keeps longer. I buy the bags of frozen fruit at Costco. Doesn't mean I don't buy fresh fruit. And it tastes really good to put frozen fruit in your Greek yogurt. If you haven't tried it, do it. And I had someone actually also say, "Have you tried microwaving?" No, it defeats the purpose. The frozen fruit is really good in it. You don't want to microwave it. What's wrong with you people? But let's talk about bulking cutting again. Again, I've made videos, quite a few, discussing this, and the things that come up with novices. And I'm always like, novices need to bulk. And people say, but what about if they're fat? And that's a good question. You know, a fat person should never bulk, right? That's silly. But the problem is, this is the fitness world. The fitness or bodybuilder definition of fat is not what we're talking about. Okay, if you're bodybuilder fat and you're a novice, you need to bulk. Okay, you still need to bulk. If you're bodybuilder fat, if you're normal person fat, you need to cut. How do we know the difference? You can look at your BMI. You can look at your BMI. If you're a non-lifter or very new to lifting, you shouldn't weigh very much. You don't have much muscle. Right? You don't have muscle. Forget that. Everyone who says, well, you know, I got a lot of muscle under this fat. Okay, then walk over as a noob and deadlift 500 pounds. Oh, you can't. You can deadlift 135 and it's really hard. Okay, you don't have muscle. You have table muscle. You don't have muscle. Like made out of muscle tissue, you got a lot of fat. Okay. Walk in and bench 315 for me. Show us how much muscle you have untrained. Can't. You bench 85 pounds. Nothing wrong with that. We all start somewhere. Look at your BMI. Assume that you've gained no muscle from training. Or if you did a little training, assume you only have 5 pounds of muscle. You can look at your BMI. Are you obese? Okay. Not that hard to figure out. Not hard to figure out. They're like, but I have a little bit of squish around my belly. But you're 160 pounds at average height. You're 5'9", 160. Okay. That guy needs to bulk. And he needs to slow bulk, because if you have a little bit more squish, you have pre-eaten. You got more energy reserves to work with. Okay. You don't have to bulk as hard. That person can gain a pound a month. Pound and a half. My skinny kids gain 3 pounds. When I get some of my skinny novices, if they're just flat skinny, if their arms are the same size as my wrists, okay, but they have a little bit of squish around the belly, they still need to bulk. It just needs to be a slow bulk. But if I get a kid who's skinny, right, your BMI is on the lower end of the healthy range and you want to lift, you're going to gain. I'm going to put 3 pounds a month on that kid if they're tall. If they're short, it's going to be 2 pounds. But, you know, that's, again, biased towards my client base. I should probably make this clear. At any given time, I get a ton of guys who are 5'11" or taller who are skinny and look like a toothpick. I have 5 of them right now, and they range from 5'11" all the way up to 6'4". And I mean, they look like bean poles. Yeah, those guys they need to gain up to 3 pounds a month. They need to gain up to 3 pounds a month. They're not going to get fat if they're training correctly. They're going to gain fat, but they're not going to get fat. Okay. If you're skinny fat, you need to slow bulk still. Because here's what I found, and I gave the example before of this. We've got a current client. Whatever reason, he decided he was skinny fat and he needed to cut before he bulked. And he kept cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. He's like 5'10", cut all the way to 140 pounds. And any muscle that he gained in his first, he wasted an entire year, by the way. Because the guy can barely bench 100 pounds for reps. Guy can't squat 200 pounds after a year in the gym. He has less muscle probably than when he started. Because he decided to cut when he was skinny fat. Because when you're skinny fat and you start cutting, you're not building muscle, you're usually losing muscle tissue, and you're losing the little bit of fat you have, but you just get skinny and skinny and skinny. He dropped it down to an emaciated level and still didn't have the six-pack he wanted at 140. It doesn't work. If you're a little fat and you need to do a quick cut at the start, fine, do a cut. A month, and then you go into a bulk, okay? If you really are that upset about having that extra 5-6 pounds of body fat, do a month cut and then bulk, and then you need to bulk for 2 years. If you are overweight, which will constitute a lot of people starting out, yes, you need to diet down to a healthy body weight. Notice I did not say bulk, cut down lean, because you're going to waste your muscle gaining. Like you're going to completely waste it. You're going to squander your noob gains, and then you're going to spend 3 years trying to play catch up. But you need to get to a healthy body weight. Get to a normal, healthy BMI, however long that takes, right? What do we mean by that? If you're average height, you probably should go down to 170 pounds, 165. Perfectly reasonable. But then you need to bulk if you want to gain any muscle. You're going to need to, again, come back to that same rule. I don't care whether you start at 200 pounds or 250. If you're 5'9", you probably need to be all the way down to 165, 170. Diet down, get to a healthy body weight, and then spend the next 2 years slow bulking back up. Okay? Because people ask that again, well, who should cut? Should certain people cut at the start? Of course, the average American's fat. The average American male needs to cut down before he tries to gain muscle. The problem is that when we say that, all these skinny hard gainers hear the same message. In their head, well, I don't have ripped abs, so I guess I'm fat and I need to cut too. No, you're skinny. You need to gain some muscle for a couple of years and then worry about your abs. And that's where the confusion comes in. And then again, the whole skinny fat thing. And people need to remember, skinny fat people are not fat. Skinny fat people have a little bit of extra body fat, and they have 15 pounds less muscle than they should have for some reason. But they need to gain muscle. But if they've got a little bit of extra fluff, okay, they can bulk slower. They can bulk slower. And they might need to cut sooner than the other people. But they may not be able to bulk for 2 years straight. They might need to bulk for a year and then do a quick cut and then bulk again. But my experience with the ones who are doing that, they end up with pretty bad gains from that a lot of times, right? It usually takes a skinny fat person who does a year bulk and then they cut down a little bit and then bulk again. They don't reach a 225 bench in 1 year, 2 years. It takes them 2 or 3 years. I mean, just being honest with you, I've observed it. Client history when they apply and I see what they've done in the past and where they've been. It puts them in a bad situation, and that cut really pushes them back a bit when they do it. But, it is what it is. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.